In the world of Euphoria, we watched Cassie Howard dismantle her entire life and her sense of self, all to get closer to what her best friend Maddy Perez represented, secure within herself and assertive, whereas Cassie was the complete opposite, deeply insecure, validation hungry, and emotionally codependent. While Maddy's worth came from within, Cassie's worth was a moving target that she placed in the hands of whoever was looking at her. She wanted to inhabit Maddy's skin because she believed that by taking Maddy's place, she would finally inherit her confidence. In the ultimate betrayal of girl code, Cassie spent months secretly seeing Maddy's ex, playing the role of the supportive best friend by day while sleeping with him by night. It's the perfect, painful example of when a friend's envy becomes so consuming that they stop trying to be your peer and start trying to be your replacement. This phenomenon isn't something that's isolated to a TV storyline. We see this psychological pattern in real life constantly. It's scary and it's very real, but it's also something you can use to your advantage. Before you can understand how to use envy, you have to understand what actually drives it within this context. And it's often something more specific and a lot more uncomfortable to admit than just surface level jealousy. What we're talking about here is something called proximity envy. Proximity envy is what happens when someone is close enough to you to see your life up close, but not secure enough within themselves to feel stable in their own. The difference between regular envy and proximity envy is that they're not watching you from a distance like a stranger would. They have access to your world where they're comparing themselves to you in real time. This is what makes the closeness dangerous. Strangers don't compare themselves to you in a deep way because they can't. Likewise, an enemy doesn't have the same access, but friends do. This is where a second place complex can start to form. This is a psychological dynamic where someone develops their sense of self in direct relation to another person they perceive as superior or more socially valued than them. They don't necessarily hate you, and in many cases they genuinely admire you, but subconsciously they begin organizing their self-worth around comparison to you. Over time, the friendship stops feeling emotionally equal in their mind. Instead, they internally position themselves as slightly beneath you in almost every category that matters to them. That could be appearance, attention, desirability, confidence, social influence, or relationships. It's rarely verbalized, but mentally it becomes a one-sided internal ranking system where your life starts functioning as the standard they measure themselves against. And once someone starts living in that second place complex, two things usually happen. Either they detach and build their own identity, or they start trying to close the gap by stepping into yours. This is usually where the behavioral symptoms start to show themselves. Envy, especially hidden envy, rarely announces itself directly. It will rear its head through the envious party's behavior first. It will begin with changes in their energy, identity, and interaction patterns that don't seem alarming in isolated incidents, but together start forming a very clear psychological picture. One of the earliest signs is mirroring. This is different from harmless inspiration. Mirroring is where someone slowly starts adopting your identity markers as if they're trying to psychologically merge with you. Your aesthetic suddenly becomes theirs. Your mannerisms are shared, your interests, your language, even your worldview is now not just your own. And because it happens gradually, it can be difficult to recognize at first. And this is exactly what we started to see with Cassie. After becoming involved with Nate, Cassie's entire presentation began to morph. The way she dressed became more curated, the way she performed femininity changed. Even the way she emotionally carried herself started resembling the type of woman she believes Nate, and by extension society, valued in Maddy. Cassie didn't just want the man, she wanted the psychological position Maddy occupied. This is where hidden envy can start to feel invasive, because the person stops relating to you as a separate individual and starts relating to you as a role they want to occupy. Dynamics like this can feel emotionally violating, because we're not just dealing with betrayal in the traditional sense. This now blurs the lines into replacement psychology, and once that mindset develops, the behavior usually escalates, and then indirect sabotage starts to appear. The envious party will start to make passive-aggressive comments disguised as jokes, or backhanded compliments that can feel humiliating. They will make small attempts to destabilize your confidence in ways that are difficult to directly call out without you sounding dramatic or as if you're the aggressor. These behaviors are done on purpose because they serve a purpose. They temporarily reduce the emotional gap they feel between themselves and you. If they can lower your social value, then they no longer feel as far beneath you internally. Now, one of the darkest parts of hidden envy is that sometimes, consciously or unconsciously, the envied person's downfall becomes emotionally satisfying to to the envious party. If you fail at something, if your relationship collapses, if your life becomes messy in general, then for a moment they no longer feel emotionally behind you. The hierarchy in their mind temporarily disappears. And that's why some people become strangely supportive during your lowest moments, but also distant during your highest moments. To them, your pain feels like an emotional safe haven because it removes the pressure of comparison. And again, this is what makes the Cassie and Maddy dynamic so psychologically uncomfortable to watch. Cassie isn't operating like a traditional enemy. She still loves Maddy in some distorted way, and she still admires her. But that admiration has become fueled with resentment, comparison, desire, and identity instability, which is why the betrayal feels so personal. Because at a certain point, Cassie stops trying to be beside Maddy and starts unconsciously trying to become her. To further understand envy, you have to know that envy creates fixation. The people who envy you will often study you more closely than people who genuinely love you. And that might sound harsh, but it makes sense. When someone has attached their self-worth to comparison, your existence becomes emotionally important to them. They start paying attention to you with unusual precision. They move into a state of hyper-observation. They notice every compliment you receive, every change in your appearance, your relationships, or even your moods. They remember things you casually mentioned months ago. And for the average person, you'd believe this was because they're simply interested in you as a person. But in the case of the envious, they're trying to decode what exactly gives you value. In other words, they're studying you like a formula. And this is exactly what we see with Cassie. Maddy stops being just a friend and becomes a syllabus. Cassie begins to observe all of Maddy's ways and interactions almost academically. Now, by this point, you're probably thinking, but TF, this is scary. How can this be a privilege? Well, envy, when you strip away the emotion of it, it actually reveals something quite specific about social dynamics. It shows you how you are being perceived in relation to others. And while it's a negative emotion and uncomfortable to be on the receiving end of, there are also some clear psychological implications that come with being the envied person. Not in a superiority sense, so to speak, but in a visibility sense, as it's a signal that you're being noticed and that you're doing something right. Let's explore the benefits of being envied. Number 1, social validation of perceived status. Being envied often means you occupy a visible position in someone else's internal hierarchy. It signals that consciously or not, people are registering you as someone who holds traits they assign value to, whether that's confidence, attractiveness, social ease, or perceived desirability. In Euphoria, this is part of what defines Maddy. She isn't ignored or overlooked in society. She's constantly socially registered by others in the environment, including or especially Cassie. Number 2, reinforcement of self-concept. When you are envied, it often creates a mirror effect where your self-perception is reinforced externally. You begin to realize that the way you carry yourself is not neutral and that it indeed has an impact. It produces reactions in other people. This evidence is what makes your self-concept feel more concrete and harder to shake, because it's no longer just internal belief or in your head, it's now reinforced by external response. And there's strength in said reinforcement because it confirms what you're experiencing with actual feedback rather than assumption. Number 3, benign envy. Now, not all envy is destructive. There's something called benign envy, where instead of somebody letting envy take them to resentment, it turns into aspiration. In this healthier form of envy, someone doesn't want to replace you or destroy you. They want to understand how you got to where you got to. This version of envy can actually elevate social environments because it shifts comparison into motivation rather than competition. It's the difference between I want to be you and I want to become better because of what I see in you. With this form of envy, you serve as inspiration, which is always flattering. Number 4, external recognition of value. When you are the subject of constant social monitoring, you effectively hold a monopoly on attention, which can be pivoted from passive surveillance into active professional leverage. In the context of Euphoria, in season 3, we see that Maddy Perez stops being a victim of the envious watchful eye and begins to treat her high visibility status as a personal brand, using her reputation for being assertive and having social dominance to secure a career in Hollywood within celebrity management.
Hi, I'm Maddy Perez, and I want to work for you.
I'm not currently hiring.
I don't believe anybody owes me anything. I'm not a victim. I won't be an HR nightmare. Miss Spencer's office, Maddy speaking. It's Annie.
Yes, she's new. Her name's Maddy.
By recognizing that envy is just a distorted form of market research, she realizes her peers have already validated her value. She steps into a boss role, or at least adjacent to, that monetizes that attention attention, proving that being the most watched person in the room is the ultimate precursor to being the most powerful. Maddy transmuted the pain of being envied into becoming an enterprising woman taking control of her future, even if that future involves a difficult climb up the Hollywood ladder. Now, if you'd like to glow up like Maddy did, with summer being right around the corner, my 60-day plan ebook is now on sale, so please be sure to head on over to my website and place your order. The same attention that once felt intrusive is reinterpreted as proof of relevance, and once you recognize that people are already watching, you can decide how to direct that attention. Ultimately, the evolution of Maddy Perez teaches us that being watched is only a burden if you don't know your own worth. When you stop viewing the watchful eye of envy as a threat and start seeing it as validation of your market value, the game changes. You stop being the victim of someone else's comparison and start being the director of your own narrative. Envy is the world's most honest form of feedback. It's people admitting, even through their resentment, that you have something worth having. So if you find yourself being monitored, studied, or mirrored, don't shrink, don't hide. Recognize that you've already won the monopoly on attention. Now, like Maddy, it's time to decide how you're going to monetize that relevance and where you're going to direct the spotlight next. Once they've confirmed you're the most important person in the room, the only thing left to do is own it. If you made it this far into the video, I'd like to say thank you for being here. If you'd like to see more content like this, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Please like, comment, hype, and share the video. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.